In Fairfield County, something new comes across my desk every day. Crimes are committed, cases are solved, and a community is made safe by the hardworking employees of the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office.
Welcome to This Week with Sheriff Dave Phelan, a weekly program here on LSN Television. We're also carried by a number of radio affiliates. Do appreciate you, the viewers and listeners that join us each and every week. Back is Mike Tussey, the Chief of the Baltimore Police Department. Glad to see you back, Mike.
Well, thanks, Sheriff.
And we talked about a lot of things last week. And before we went off air last time, I mentioned that Baltimore has a program that assists people that are addicted to drugs.
Yes.
And you started that and it's gotten a lot of notoriety in the media. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, what we recognized, and I guess, you know, what I've seen and a lot of us in law enforcement have denied to ourselves is when it comes to addiction, when it comes to especially this heroin epidemic that we're all in right now, we are never going to arrest our way out of this. So even if tomorrow we could arrest everybody who's abusing drugs, violating section of law, put them into the system, probably 80% of those people are going to come out and re-abuse again. So there had to be some sort of a segue. There had to be something there that we could look at. A young lady who lives in town, Christy Sisson, came into the police department and presented to me a program that was through a group called PARI. And this actually started on the East Coast, has spread nationwide. And what we do is we give people that are addicted an opportunity to come to the police department, say, I need help, and then we facilitate them going to a facility to have a intervention. And we've partnered with quite a few people. You know, the Baltimore Ministerial Association has been really huge with this. A lot of help with that. People in the community have stepped up. And the way it works, it has to be you. It can't be mom or dad or anybody brings you there. You have to walk in and say, I need help and I'm willing to do what I need to do. You also have an opportunity at that point to bring in needles or anything you may have paraphernalia-wise, which we take marked for destruction. The only caveats are that you can't currently be under indictment. You can't have any outstanding warrants. You can never have been arrested for any sort of trafficking charges. And you have to be 18 years of age, and this has to be totally voluntary. Once you do that, you come in, the officers basically check that out. We call our volunteers. The volunteers come in, and then they stay with that person until we get them into a detox bed. And currently, Fairfield Medical Center has also partnered, and they are offering us the use of a detox bed when we have someone come in. So what we're trying to do is minimize the cost. Most of these people have no insurance. The beds that we are locating are all over the United States. We get what we're called scholarship beds, which it's amazing how many of these groups will help you if you just ask. The Florida group, we put them on a plane, we send them to Florida, and they go through an up to 6-month treatment program. We also have treatment programs in the Athens area, Toledo area that we can use. When they come out of that, it's not just a walk away. They're helped to get a job. They're helped with, they need to finish their education. There's follow-up. Our director calls them when they are getting out and making sure that they know, hey, here's your mentor you can call anytime you have an issue. And we felt this was the most important, because we're doing this faith-based, one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to destroy the addiction and then feed them spiritually so that when they do get out, they know that they're never alone. They always have someone they can turn to. And so far, we've had a couple people go through, and so far, knock on wood, it's been relatively successful.
Is it just for residents of Baltimore, or can people come from outside the area?
We will take anyone from Fairfield County.
Okay.
That was one of the things. Currently, there's 3 of us on the board, if you would. There's myself, who obviously has a law enforcement background, our mayor, who is an attorney, and then our director, Christy, is a nurse, and her specialty is working with babies that are born addicted. So she has a heavy background in dealing with addicted persons.
Wow, what a great program. And so if someone is listening or watching the program today and they're out there and they say, I want to get my life squared away, how do they make contact with you?
They can call they can either call the Baltimore Police Department, or what we find is most people prefer to have the initial contact like an online contact. So we have a Facebook account. It's Baltimore PACU on Facebook. You can go on there, leave a message. We'll, if you want to leave a number, we'll call you back. Everything's confidential. We abide by all the HIPAA rules and laws. All of our everyone that works in this project has been trained, so their confidentiality is secure. And then it's just a matter of them making that decision to come forward.
Yeah. Very good. Great program. Last year, 2016, any interesting cases that come to mind in Baltimore?
Well, it's almost one of those, where do you begin? We worked with your office on a case that involved a man who had come to Baltimore, back to the drug side of this, and had brought drugs to Baltimore and supplied them to a person who lived in Baltimore. That person passed away, and through a lot of really good detective work and a lot of time put into that case, that person that brought the drugs down there was eventually charged in relationship to that death.
And that death was a result of a drug overdose.
Right, it was a result of the drug overdose. And once the coroner had ruled that, then it certainly, changed the dynamic. I think one of the things, the message that sends is, and I'm not sure how other counties are doing it, but I think it sends a message to what we call the overflow, which is the people that come out of Columbus, Zanesville, and Newark to sell their drugs here. We don't know what you're doing in your county, but if you come here, you're going to get charged. If you give somebody drugs, they die. If we can put you in jail, we're going to do it.
And that's going to be a driving force even within the Fairfield County Sheriff's Detective Bureau, too. We've talked about that last year, and we're going to continue to go forward. When we can make that connection, we're going to go ahead and charge the person, because they are certainly complicit, and if it wasn't for their drug dealing activity, that person wouldn't have died.
Well, and that's exactly right. And these people are, in my opinion, the ones that are down here selling the drugs and doing it in bulk amounts are predators, no different than any sort of other predator. They have no remorse, they have no care. What they look at is, if they sell to someone and they die, it's just, well, I've got to find a new client. So I think to leave them out of the mix, so to speak, when you're looking at trying to suppress the drug usage, I think would be a huge mistake.
And I think with the fentanyl and these things that have now entered the drug market, that what we see today is a much more lethal product that gets distributed into our community. In fact, I know on a national level, there's been multiple people die through these things through one drug dealer.
Well, and the fentanyl and the carfentanil in particular, on the East Coast, there's been several police officers, simply by being on the scene with this person, touching something that had that on there, have literally been put at death's door. So it's a major hazard for first responders. Anytime you're dealing with that, it's a major hazard for. And the crazy part about this is, a lot of these people live in households where there's children. Unfortunately, this morning I was reading about a child in Dayton, 2-year-old, that had passed away, and they just ruled that somehow he got into the fentanyl, and that obviously killed him. And again, they don't think on a person that's addicted doesn't think on a level of, and I hate to use the word normal person, but an everyday person. Their only thought process is how do I get my next fix? We just had a gentleman who we took into our program, and the director and I spent 30 hours with this guy, while he was going through withdrawal, and until somebody has seen that, what it does to the human body, how it destroys the human spirit, I just don't think you can understand why it's so important that we try to help as many of these people as we can.
Couldn't agree with you more, Chief. Before airtime, we talked a little bit about, for a number of years, you've gone to a lot of different schools to talk about some of the online predators. And I know before you were the chief in Baltimore, you were a sergeant with the Westerville Police Department, and you ran a unit. So it might be a good time in the last couple of minutes we have here to talk a little bit about online predators and how prevalent that continues to be.
Well, technology changes on a daily basis. We all know that. You see a new phone comes out, and the very next week it's obsolete. There's a new phone. And phones have become status symbols. And what I find is, many cases, it's not a status symbol for the child, it's a status symbol for the parent. My child has the latest, greatest phone. Well, what they don't realize is they're handing that child a computer, a handheld computer that has more computing power than the computers that were on the Apollo spacecraft that went to the moon. And as a part of that, it opens up worlds that they really shouldn't be in. Everything from the amount of pornography that's online anymore is epidemic, to the online bullying. We see that quite a bit through our SRO program. A child will be targeted for no apparent reason. Maybe they didn't dress the way everybody else does, or maybe they can't afford to do something the rest of everyone else is doing. And the next thing you know, they are barraged with hate texts. And so we try to reach out to those. Two things we do. We reach out to the kids that are being bullied. We try to help them with their self-esteem and go from there. But the big part of it is we have a zero tolerance for anything to do with online bullying. If you are online bullying, you are at a minimum going to be subject to school discipline. And depending on the level it rises to, very possibly charged with a criminal act. The same with the online predator. That whole dynamic it made a 180-degree turn a few years ago, and it went from the chat room, somebody lying in a chat room, to where they're on there now asking, they'll portray themselves as a 16, 17-year-old, and they'll say, hey, I want to trade pictures with you. And then, of course, we get into the sexting issue. And then these poor kids, who a lot of them, although physically they may appear to be mature and adult, are still, 12, 13-year-old kids. And they do silly things because that's what kids do. And the problem with this is, once you put it on the internet, it lives on the internet forever.
Right. Well, Chief, we're just about out of time. Like to have you back, certainly this year, a couple more times, find out what's going on in Baltimore. Keep us up to date. Appreciate you spending time with us for the last 2 weeks. Chief Police in Baltimore, Ohio, Mike Tussey, a veteran lawman, and has done just a terrific job there in Baltimore over the years. Well, we're just about out of time, and do appreciate you, the viewers and listeners that join us each and every week. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the program, this program is produced at Fairfield Christian Academy. If it wasn't for the students here and the staff, we wouldn't be able to do this. Behind the scenes, Kelly Roberts, our executive producer. Until next week, same time, same place. God bless, and we'll see you right here.